Sempervive and Filthy Tom Lawlor here with you for the next hour talking about professional wrestling, which is something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Tune in, iHeart American Forces Radio, Cable Radio Network 2, sportsbyline.com, over-the-air affiliates, podcast, or maybe you're video streaming on Twitch or YouTube. However you're joining us today, I'd just like to say thank you. Hopefully wherever you are, it's sunny outside. Even if not, hopefully it's sunny inside your mind. And if you're traveling back from London today, all the best to you, especially to the boss man, Brian Alvarez, who is, I guess, flying home right now. And that means he'll be back on the show tomorrow. He should be in rare form, I think. Apparently there was some sort of cyber attack on Seattle's Tacoma Airport, which downed their services and has led to long lines and a lot of frustration. Yeah, he's going to be on whatever show he gets back on first. Hopefully it's this one for all of your listening pleasure. But since he's not here, Filthy Tom is going to make the save again for his partner. He's going to join me after the break. And as always, we've got a lot to get into. Obviously, the big story of the day is all the fallout from Sunday's All In pay-per-view from AEW at Wembley Stadium. Bryan Danielson is your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, defeating Swerve Strickland in a hell of a match. So while he may not be officially signed, Danielson's the champion, and he's already got a list of opponents waiting to challenge him. Will Ospreay got an assist from Daniel Garcia and delivered the Tiger Driver 91 to end MJF's American title reign and seemingly the title itself, as he was presented with the international title belt after the match. All in at All In? All in all at All In? I knew I was going to have trouble doing that one. There were 5 title changes, plus a lot of surprises, returns, and debuts. Jamie Hayter, Nigel McGuinness, Ricochet, Sting, Who Kid, Westside Gun, Bun B, Stokely Hathaway bringing back Michael Jackson's Remember the Time video. Going to get into all of that stuff. Plus, Raw tonight as they begin their go-home for Bash in Berlin. We'll run down the card as we know it when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live.
Your next contest this evening is a hair versus hair match.
You're at.
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive and Filthy Tom Lawlor here with you. We do this show right here for an hour at a time, but if you want us 24/7, you can find us on Twitter/X. I am at Sempervive. Tom is at Filthy Tom Lawlor. Brian is at Brian Alvarez. The website is at WONF4W, and the broadcaster is at Sports Byline USA. Jim Valley is here with you on Saturday starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. And on Sunday, Andrew Zarian joins you beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. I want you to make the wrestling news part of your day as well, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, or head on over to WrestlingNews.com and at Wrestling News AV on Facebook and X. Every single day of the year, everything you need to know to get your day started, get you up to date, or get you to your favorite long-form review pod like Wrestling Observer Radio. A new episode of Observer Radio is up on the site right now for subscribers. Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer did one last show from London before they departed, covering everything All In. The regular Observer Radio gets back to normal on Wednesday night. For everybody that streams it live on Twitch and YouTube, that's going to be taking place after Dynamite. I would assume that Brian and Vinny are going to talk about their adventures coming up on the Brian and Vinny show very, very soon, Tom. And unfortunately, before we get to All In, there is breaking news, and it is still not completely confirmed, although many of the major websites, including Fightful, is going with this. Gunnar Udy, the son of Sid Vicious, on Facebook has posted, "In memory of my father, Sid Udy, dear friends and family, I am deeply saddened to share that my father, Sid Udy, has passed away after battling cancer for several years. He was a man of strength, kindness, and love, and his presence will be greatly missed. We appreciate your thoughts and prayers as we grieve this loss. Details for a memorial service will be shared soon. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, Gunnar Udy." We'll see if we get any more details on this before the end of the show, but a real surprise, a real kick in the gut for me, Filthy. I was a big fan of Jim Crockett Promotions, and in 1989, they were bought in late 88 by Ted Turner, and the regime started to change, and there were some really great things that happened in 89, and there were some really tough things to watch, but one thing that was so easy to watch was seeing Sid Vicious and Danny Spivey get in there and just destroy people, and Sid Vicious throwing power bombs, and this is supposed to be the next big heel in the company, and the fans couldn't help it. You couldn't help it but look at Sid Vicious and see all of the physical charisma and see his look and see him start looking around as the fans would start chanting and picking up people and power bombing them again. Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Sid, Psycho Sid was awesome, and he may not have been the greatest professional wrestler in the world, but damn it, was he professional wrestling.
Yeah, you can't put it much better than that, Mike. My earliest memory of Sid was watching him absolutely decimate poor Brian Pillman in the cage in early 90s WCW, and then
War Games, and
then moving on to become a main eventer in the WWF as Sid Justice, who was screwed by Hulk Hogan. Yeah. We should be living in a world where Sid Justice won the Royal Rumble and was the champion, but instead the big baby face Hulk Hogan pulled him over the top rope, claiming he was screwed in a match in which it's every man for himself. And, you know, many people thought that was going to be it for Sid. His reign at the top was going to be short-lived. He had wore out his welcome already, but years later, I will never forget, as a man who loves a good entrance, perhaps my favorite professional wrestling entrance of all time is Sid coming out at Survivor Series to face HBK for the title in New York City, Madison Square Garden, in front of the most hardcore of hardcore, smarkiest fans of the time. You would think a guy like Sid would be looked down upon, buried. He walks out, and the people go crazy for this guy. Everybody in Madison Square Garden wanted a fist bump. They wanted to get those crazy eyes looking at him from the master and the ruler of the world. And they got it because he won that belt that night. And I thought it was a great moment. Like I said, one of my favorite entrances of all time, and really one of my favorite memories as a teenager of professional wrestling. So if you ever ask me, I'll tell you, Sid rules.
The world. His singles match with Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series, arguably his best singles match of all time. He also had a couple with Bret Hart in the time that he was with WWE, then WWF as well. He talked about the War Games match where he unintentionally injured Brian Pillman, but it did give us a memory and it gave some reality to the dangers of that kind of match where a guy can injure his shoulder. And again, not the best pro wrestler in the world, but what a great character. You talk about the Garden. Look at ECW Arena. Look at how those people would treat some of the folks that would come in, like they treated Matt Bourne when he came in, but then Sid comes in and you cannot help it. He walks in there and everybody wants to see him wreck shop. It didn't matter who he killed. They just wanted to see him go out there and kill somebody. Another amazing Sid visual that we would get in the WWF was something that Bruiser Brody did one time in Georgia, where he took a guy, beat a jobber up so bad, threw him in a wheelchair afterwards, and then ran him into the ring post. Well, they updated that for Sid in the WWF, where a guy would be laid out after getting killed by him on Superstars or on Challenge, and they would roll the poor bastard outside of the ring. They would put him on the gurney, and then Sid, as they were rolling him up the aisle, would get the gurney and either roll him back and knock him into the post or just flip the thing over and the guy falls face first on the ground. It was just, again, another great visual that they did to get that guy over as a monster when he came up to the WWF. And Tom, another one that I remember, you talk about him getting screwed by Hulk Hogan when he was still Sid Justice and they made the call to give Hulk Hogan the title match. And it was so cartoonish, but it was so great because Sid was this big, over-the-top pro wrestling cartoon character. And you see him just kind of trying to smile, and they make the decision, and he balls up the paper, and it's really over the top. But it was, again, just such a great memory that, you know, again, 20 years later, whatever we are from it, that I can think about in this time.
Yeah, Mike. I mean, we could go on and on. We haven't even talked about his WCW run at the end, in which he was the champion for, you know, a good portion of it. Really, he was the top babyface at one point towards the end. So, I mean, a storied career. And like you said, it's such a great way to put it. He was not the best pro wrestler, but he was a great professional wrestler.
Yeah. Yes, he was. You know, even right down to the unfortunate end for him. And after this, he was able to actually go out and make some indie appearances and all that sort of stuff. But you talk about the end of WCW and a lot of the things that took place then being wrapped up in the Chris Benoit title issue when he defeated Sid with Sid's foot under the rope, and when the Radicals jumped to the WWF, they made the decision, put Arn Anderson out there to return the title to Sid. And then you had the moment where at WCW Sin, he jumped off the top rope, compound fracture on live pay-per-view, a Joe Theismann Monday Night Football type of moment, and unfortunately ended that portion of his career.
Which, by the way, they decided to replay on Nitro.
Yes, they did. In fact, they opened the show with a still shot of it, I believe, with the leg over to the side and him holding it and all that. It was, yeah.
What is this, Faces of Death?
At that point, actually, yes. They just didn't know it was going to be the company that was going to be killed. But unfortunately, again, looks like Sid Vicious has passed away. This is according to his son on a Facebook post. He is truly gone. Again, a lot of great memories coming out of Sid Vicious. Got a lot more to get into, which of course is the All In Show, which we will do when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer.
Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Okay, can everyone hear it?
Yeah.
There's a mystery bell at Granny's house. She can't hear it. Take off your headphones for a second.
I had them on wrong anyway.
Okay.
I can't get them on right. What?
Take them off and listen.
You have in your elbow?
Is the fan on a computer?
Nothing.
All right. Well, this is going to be an exciting show.
Gonna have bells ringing through the whole thing, and it's every week. It's got to be me.
Do you have a neighbor that's an ice cream man
No,
practicing out there?
I got a neighbor that smokes marijuana.
I'm sure you do. I guess
Whatever that noise is, I mean, it's still going.
Yeah, it's not going to stop, dude.
Brian, do you want me to get off here and go see if open the door and see if there's anything out there?
You think something's out the front door?
Is he ringing the bell the entire time?
No, Granny, you don't
Let
need
me
to-
in! Let me
it's
in!
Fine, it's fine.
If it's death, don't open the door.
Thank you, Craig. This person thinks it's a stove timer.
Have you burned the roast?
No, I don't have a stove. You want me to just get off here?
No. We're going to barrel through it.
I'd love it.
You're not even doing anything. Granny, Nick says that you've got an old-fashioned analog alarm clock in Terry's bedroom.
I don't know. I got a new alarm clock, battery operated. Is that what she meant?
Well, whatever it is, it's going haywire right now.
Oh, it might be my alarm,
Do you think?
but it's way back in the bedroom.
Don't worry about it right now. But when the show's over, you might want to go...
That's what it is.
Okay.
Solve the mystery.
Is there a reason you didn't turn it off when it started ringing?
Well, I wasn't in there. I didn't.
Duh.
I took a nap. I took a nap and set the alarm. I thought I shut it off, but I probably didn't.
No.
You probably didn't.
That's life.
I would say with a good deal of certainty that you didn't turn it off.
Brian, that's life around here.
Yeah, I'm well aware. I do the show with Dave, too.
Say,
Hear all sorts of things in the background.
did I do that? You know,
Yeah, you did do that.
or I thought I did that, but I didn't.
in there.
I wake up and I see lights on, and I say, I didn't turn those lights on. What's going on?
Maybe the place is haunted.
Could be.
Okay.
It's my brain that's haunted.
Well, I hope not. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe.
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive and Filthy Tom Lawlor here with you. Wrestling Observer Live. Big Boss Man Brian Alvarez will be back on the show tomorrow. Traveling back from London, AEW All In, Wembley Stadium on Sunday in London. As an old man, I love the idea of 1 p.m. pay-per-views. I do. There's going to be another one coming up this weekend with Bash in Berlin. That's going to be another early show. I am thrilled about this. Love it. I don't know about you, Filthy, but I quite enjoy this, and I quite enjoyed the show as well, too, because no matter, once again, what anybody thinks about the build-up to an AEW card, at the end of the pay-per-view, completely satisfied by it, and once again, they super serve their hardest of hardcore fans. They really do. Maybe it's too over the top in the fact that they have 29-man tag team matches and everything, but the fact of the matter is, to me at least, you certainly get the money that you spend on the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you could watch that show and not think it was a success coming out of it. Sure, the attendance was down, but to get 50,000 plus in there on the second go round, you've got to think that that would probably be about the minimum that they would get, or around that, the low number coming in the second time. So that's a good sign that it was only a drop to 50,000 people. You know,
and they never actually mentioned the attendance too. We're guessing at it. We know it's around 50,000 or so. It's probably going to be more, but they actually never made that clear, and they have not announced it as of yet, although I could see maybe tomorrow or Wednesday morning before Dynamite comes on, they do some sort of press release out there to tout whatever they did business-wise.
Yeah, we need to find out. Everybody is sitting around waiting, dying to know what was the turnstile count at Wembley
Brandon
this
Thruster
year.
Will be holding that one down.
How many people went through the turnstiles compared to were actually in the building compared to tickets sold? I mean, whatever. However many people were in there. I enjoyed the majority of the show, what I watched. The main event was spectacular. Even if you can't discredit the action that was in there, but the moment of seeing 50,000 plus people going crazy. First, I thought when Danielson kicked out of the JML driver, the big pressure, they went absolutely insane. Crazy. One of the best kickouts I've seen in history. And then to see them going wild for the bicycle knees, the kicks, and the submissions at the end, just a great ending to a successful show from AEW.
An absolutely fantastic piece of storytelling. I thought it was, at least, and we'll take it from the main event and go backwards. Bryan Danielson's career was on the line against Swerve's AEW title. Danielson wins in 25 minutes and 59 seconds. It is expensive to use the final countdown, but I guess when you're making memories, what's tens of thousands of dollars? Danielson used it, and it was a great moment, him coming out to that song and everybody losing their minds. Bree and the kids were at ringside, and they played into the storytelling throughout the match. As we always do, we got our obligatory moment in the match where Danielson feigned a life-altering injury, came after a vertebrae. Swerve ended up chasing Doc Samson from the ring, so we knew that Danielson was going to be okay. At the end of the match, a crazed Hangman Adam Page hit ringside. He threw down security, threw down Nana, and then a whole bunch of security grabbed him and dragged him to the back. Gave both guys a little bit of time to rest before the finish. Danielson hit a Busaku knee for a near fall. They then traded knee strikes and headbutts before Danielson hit 2 more knees and then followed it up with the label lock for the submission. Swerve worked himself out of it. Danielson cracked his fingers, put him back into it. Swerve had nowhere to go, and Bryan Danielson celebrated in the ring with his family, with Claudio, with Wheeler Yuta, and with Pac. And that's been a little bit understated in the fact that he was in the ring with all of them at the end of the match, and no Jon Moxley around. We'll see what happens there where it comes to these new trios champions, which includes the Outsider Pac. We'll see what happens with all of that stuff, but I thought it was a great, incredible way to end the show, big way to end the show. The match right before it, coffin match between Jack Perry and Darby Allin. Jack Perry retained in 10.5 minutes. After the match, the Young Bucks came down to the ring and doused the coffin in gasoline, but before they could murder Allin on live pay-per-view, the lights went out and Sting's music hit. He came down to the ring with his bat, no-sold a Perry chair shot, and then as Perry ran away, he gave the Jacksons a double scorpion death drop, helped Darby Allin out of the casket, and they left. So no one died. The feud between the two now seems like it's over for the time being. The pun intended sting of Jack Perry winning that match got some relief with Sting showing up and making an appearance and saving Darby Allin from death, which is a good thing because he has a title match coming up here pretty soon. Everybody went bananas, and honestly, Tom, I thought in some ways the match was really nothing. You know, it was exactly what you'd think out of a Perry Darby stunt show, but at least it feels as though the feud is over with and both of them can move on to something else.
Yeah, and I think it was a great way to bring Sting back. You don't want to do this too often, but on such a big stage like Wembley in front of so many people, I think you can, pull the trigger and have him come out for a special appearance. So thought it worked well.
TBS title, Mercedes Moné defeated Dr. Britt Baker in 17-19. Mercedes hit the moneymaker for the clean win. This has been a polarizing match. I thought it was okay. It was okay. That's all it was. It was put in a really bad spot, too, as we'll get to in a moment. But the way this went, good.
That, I will say, everybody wants to bury, I've seen people burying the work of both of these women. They also did one of the most insane spots I've ever seen in my life and pulled it off perfectly with that power slam reversal into another power slam off the top rope. I don't even know what to call it. But, I've got to give them, if nothing else, give them props for doing that spot. That was crazy.
Baker did everything she could, even getting Camille tossed. But when she went to apply the lockjaw, Moné bit down on her. And unfortunately, the spot Tom's talking about is going to be forgotten about because they kind of stumbled around and clumsily worked a backslide spot into the finish of the match, which didn't look great. But long story short, Mercedes retains, gets the victory, and it's probably on to the next one for both of them because there was really nothing that happened in this match where Baker's got any claim to a rematch whatsoever. In fact, she's probably on to Camille. The match right before it, though, which was really hard to follow, AEW American title, Will Ospreay defeats MJF 25-47 to win the title, pinned him after MJF hit a low blow, and then tried some shenanigans while the ref was down. He pulled out a pair of brass knuckles. The reason he did so is because the Dynamite Diamond ring was allegedly, reportedly, stolen for real. And it wasn't by Daniel Garcia because Daniel Garcia showed up in a mask. And then when MJF tried to use some brass knuckles, he stopped him. And finally, after milking the hell out of it for a while, Will Ospreay hit the Tiger Driver 91 for the win. It looked great in that it looked like MJF actually was killed, but he was not. Probably pretty sore today, though. After the match, Christopher Daniels hit the ring with the old international title belt, which Ospreay accepted and elected to take, as opposed to the MJF title. They did it all. They told all of the story, all of the backstory, all that stuff. Not much to get. There are some things I would pick at here and there, but what'd you think of the match?
Great stuff between both guys, I don't know where you really go after doing a 60-minute match before, but, I thought in front of this crowd, I thought it was fantastic. The second best thing on the show, I thought. Maybe the third best thing. I really enjoyed the opener, or I guess the women's championship match, I should say.
Yeah, we'll get to that. AEW World Title #1 contenders Casino Gauntlet match. Christian Cage won it in about 26 minutes. As a result, he wins a shot at the AEW World Title. Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada started and were followed by, in order, Nigel McGuinness, Kyle O'Reilly, Zack Sabre Jr., Roderick Strong, Mark Briscoe, Hangman Adam Page, Jeff Jarrett, Ricochet, Christian, and Luchasaurus. The good of this to me was I'm getting much more used to the concept, and if they're all packed with good workers like yesterday's was, I'll become an even bigger fan. The surprise of Nigel McGuinness was awesome, and I assume at least it will begin to pay off. Him being such a heel towards Bryan Danielson when it comes to commentary. The negative to me, if he wasn't winning it or getting an angle to come out of it, I don't know if Ricochet was exactly necessary to have in the match. And I like Christian a lot. I like him a lot more than a lot of people listening and watching right now. Believe it or not, I'm really looking forward to the match between him and Danielson, and I think their interactions will be great. But I can also say I'm really surprised that they gave him the victory. But then again, they have a whole lot of shows that need matches coming up between All Out and World's End in December.
I was baffled at the finish when it happened. But other than that, spectacular match. Like you said, maybe something else for Ricochet, but they wanted to get him out there on the big stage, let him show off, just like we're going to do when we come back for the break. Right, Mike?
Exactly. Here on Wrestling Observer Live.
We did, in fact, by popular demand, watch Ready to Rumble.
The champion is some fat loser.
Yeah, he's a completely
talentless, no athletic ability, can't wrestle, broke bum that walked out on his wife and kid.
But he was
he's
over.
the world champion.
He
and
was
in the movie. The
well, yeah, but
storyline
that's a
is-
microcosm of wrestling, sadly.
Yes.
He feels so bad about drinking this entire slushy that cost $1.26, and he sticks his finger in his asshole and walks up to the clerk.
Lance is dying. How could the movie be so bad?
I'm not going to fault the man for that, of all the things in the movie.
I thought for
okay?
sure you were going to say you'd done this before.
There's a reason I'm not going to fault the man for that.
I just think with all the porta potties and farting in this, that I think Vince McMahon was a secret producer on this film. Had to have been.
So then we get the Shermanator. He's playing a WCW arcade game. He uses some internet sleuthing to find the personal information of Jimmy King.
He's searching the internet. Can find out anything on here. This movie was so antiquated. Every Nitro Girl is in a Nitro Girl outfit, except for this girl. They had her
want
dance
her
in
to
something
stand
totally
out,
different.
Brian, like the captain.
So we're so stupid. I got it.
Captain
Yes,
Stavin?
if you're watching this film, you're that stupid. I'm sorry.
But I was also insulted by the fact they hired Michael Buffer to announce the Royal Bash, the fake-ass Royal Bash.
$24 million budget.
Wow.
And probably $500,000 of that went to Michael Buffer. It made 12. You know, we
He
should
unveils-
mention this cage match is the triple-decker Cage of Doom. Everybody buried it. It was horrible. Everybody hated it. And so they decided to make a movie. And what is the final battle? It's another goddamn triple-decker cage match. This would be like in 2010 if like TNA made a movie and the final match was a reverse battle royal.
They throw powder in someone's face, DDP's, I think, or somebody's, and the dude just looks at it and goes, "It doesn't work." It's like, of course, because wrestling's fake and stupid.
Should we just end it there? What a soundbite. There has never been a movie I have watched in my entire life which has made me hate myself more.
Wow.
I'm ashamed that I'm even in the place at 41 years old where I would end up reviewing this movie for money. I would have thought I would have made it out of here by now. You know what I mean? I'm done.
Well, everyone, hopefully we can do this again someday. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe.
Mike Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawlor here with you talking about All In. There were a lot of awesome moments during All In. Nothing as awesome as Sid Vicious finding out that his car has been smashed to the ground by Goldberg and him jumping up and down and saying Goldberg. Nor was there anything as awesome, even though they decided to use Final Countdown, there was nothing as awesome, Tom, as Sid's old music.
Do you want the replay of what I was doing off air? Is that why you threw it to me?
Yes. Jim Johnson special. Couple more matches to finish off the All In show. The World Tag Title three-way. Young Bucks retain over FTR and the Acclaimed in 13:32 when Matt Jackson pinned Dax Harwood. Long story short here, the grizzled young veterans are in. They stared down the Young Bucks after the match before attacking FTR. Matt Jackson pinned Dax Harwood after the double knees, and that was that. So I would love for this to be the time that they go ahead and put some fire back into their tag team division and bringing in the grizzled young vets who can absolutely work with everybody, especially FTR. They may not be great on the mic. Who cares? I just need to see some good tag team wrestling, Tom.
I agree. They need to do something to freshen up this division. I don't know what it is. You know, they've had some pretty successful teams in the past that have kind of fallen apart that were made up of singles competitors. And, you know, when I look at the lay of the land, I think maybe they might need another team kind of in that ilk. Remember, they had Ricky Starks and Big Bill,
Yeah.
which was a great pairing, but, you know, obviously no longer. So, perhaps they need to find two of these main event guys who don't have something going on and throw them into that tag division. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Get serious about Big Bill and Brian Keith if you're not building directly towards Big Bill and Jericho. Throw them into the tag team mix. You got the Outrunners there who people get a kick out of. You have the Grizzled Young Vets coming in. You got FTR. You got the Bucks. Top Flight. Give them some wins over somebody. Build them up. You got a whole new image for them. Just do something with that tag team division. And you can probably do something with Big Bill and Brian Keith because it seems as if the Chris Jericho Hook feud is over. Thank God. 10 minutes, 14 seconds. Hook wins the FTW title back for the third time. Very House of Torture by design with Big Bill and Brian Keith interfering throughout the match. In fact, right from Jump Street towards the end of the match, Hook ripped off his eye patch to reveal that he could see. Why he didn't do that earlier in the match, I don't know. It's one of those moments that I think sounds good as you're going through stuff, and it just nobody stopped to think about, like, if he's going to be triple teamed for the entire, start of the match, just rip it off at first and give Jericho the shocked face, and that way he gets jumped. Regardless, Jericho missed hitting Hook and put Big Bill through a table instead. That led to Brian Keith trying to get in the ring at the end, but Taz had finally had enough over at the announcer's desk, got up, put him in the Taz mission. The crowd went crazy. Hook put the red rum on Jericho, who tapped, and that was that. So looks as if Hook and Jericho is done for now. AEW World Women's title match. Mariah May defeated Toni Storm 15-14 to win the title. For me, following the main event, and yeah, MJF Ospreay, I think I would put over this as well too, but this was a really good match. At least the third best match on the show. If you thought it was better, awesome. From the video package that they had of Ben Mankiewicz all the way through Mariah winning, I thought they did a great job with the story considering everything that they have been telling, which led to this icing that was put on the cake. So Mariah May is your new women's champion at one point. Tom, it was great. I thought this was great. This seems to be a polarizing spot too, and I believe it was because they probably didn't establish it and explain who this woman was ahead of time, and the fact that maybe she had some concern over the fact that she was watching her daughter wrestle. But at one point, Mariah was outside of the ring. She went over and kissed Nigel on commentary, then drop-kicked Luther, and then walked over to the rail and slapped her own mother. She would she would run over her mother, slap her mother in order to win the AEW World Women's title. I took it that way. There were a lot of people, though, who were going, why'd she slap her mother? What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty easy to see why she'd slap her mother. It establishes her as willing to do anything to get the win, step on anyone, no matter how close they are to her. And I thought that this was, like you said, at least the third best thing on the show as far as in-ring work goes, but probably this, to me, the second most enjoyable thing besides Bryan Danielson's big win in the main event. And that is because they had a long time to tell this story. They've been telling it for like a year, or the better part of this year up to this point. And all of the, I don't even want to say throwbacks, but the use of the shoe, just the fact that Tony couldn't pull the trigger and take out Mariah May, I thought this was fantastic.
Ken in the YouTube, that's a reason, that's a rationalization. Don't be a nerd, Ken. I don't even know why I'm looking at the YouTube chat right now. Stop it. Stop that. That is a reason. That's the type of person she is, and who cares? Maybe it is a rationalization. Doesn't matter. The fact is, it worked. She slapped her mother. She's now the champion. She got busted open. Not as bad as she busted open Toni Storm, but she did get busted open when she was Storm Zero'd on the ring steps, which, now that, again, I was never big on women blading. I didn't watch a lot of Japanese women wrestling and all that stuff. So, as time has gone on here, we've seen more intergender, we've seen women bleed more in America. It's starting to become a little bit more normal, but what do you think about that element? I guess blading really in general, but especially when it comes to women and the aesthetic that it gives, because I thought it was really effective in this match and originally with Toni Storm, but I also worry about it becoming something that you fall back on too.
Mike, women have been bleeding their entire existence. Why isn't it an issue now?
Finish game after Mariah hit Toni with 2 knee strikes and a Storm Zero of her own, and she is the new champion. The show opened up. I had nothing with that I could have said on air. AEW World Trios London ladder match. Blackpool Combat Club's Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta teamed with PAC to defeat the Patriarchy, the House of Black, and the Bang Bang Gang to win the titles in about 20 minutes. Wasn't surprised that Claudio Yuta and PAC won, because I think 2 things get checked off by doing this. It establishes PAC with this new unit now that the Lucha Brothers seem to be on the way out. And as we found out later in the show, it opened up Christian now to play his title match card. This is another one where it's like, you got all the teams. You got Andretti and Top Flight. You got teams. It's just a matter of making people actually care about these teams, Tom, much like the tag team division, getting this thing back on path and giving it some clarity.
Well, hopefully this is a step in the right direction. Although if you've looked at the past number of champions, they've all been really good quality teams, acts that have been pushed. So honestly, it seems like the trios titles have been better off recently than the tag titles, at least as I could tell in the minds of a lot of the fans out there as well. So this scene, just by throwing these 3 guys in there, I guess it reinvigorates it a little bit, but with the Patriarchy, with the Bang Bang Gang, with Top Flight, these other teams, you could always throw the Bucks and Okada in there. There's no lack of trios teams. So I enjoy the division. I thought this match, it was a bunch of spots, but what else do you expect from a match like this? And another thing I think it does, Mike, is it sets a precedent of, like, if the Lucha Brothers were going to win these belts with Pac, it sets a precedent of them not screwing over Pac. You know what I mean? He doesn't get left out as the odd man out. It shows that they're willing to repay somebody who they were willing to, put a little bit of the title behind, even though his partners are gone.
And I don't know if you had a chance to hear Dave and Brian earlier on Wrestling Observer Radio. Again, that's up for subscribers at the website right now. Dave talked about the fact, because Brian was flabbergasted over Christian winning the Casino Gauntlet, when you're thinking, okay, Nigel McGuinness, because it would make sense, and now he's got a shot at Brian, or Hangman winning it, or Ricochet debuting and winning it. Apparently, according to Dave, Christian was supposed to win the last Casino Gauntlet, and because he did not, they gave him this victory. Again, they have a story, one would assume, to play out and be attached to this. But another example, just like in that case, if that's what happened here when it came to PAC, that, hey, if we set you up for a moment, we got it in our minds for this moment for you, you're going to get that moment. And Christian got his, and obviously, you got what you got there. And 2, the big event schedule for AEW, I guess I'll bring that up now when it comes to Christian here and getting that opportunity. We got a couple of notes when it came to next year. Grand Slam Australia takes place February 15th in Brisbane. Do want to mention that Suncorp Stadium is going to be a big deal. Brisbane has not had a show of this size. Go ahead.
Mike, I've been there. I stayed 3 months of my life in Brisbane years ago, and I cannot believe that they booked the Suncorp Stadium. That is a huge outdoor venue. I'm blown away. I watched a Four Nations rugby game there, and it wasn't full. So, hopefully they can pack that thing out, but it's a big place.
Were the All Blacks playing?
It was, yeah.
Man, it didn't even sell out for them.
It was like Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and Tonga.
Wow. Maybe. 52,000. And apparently for concerts, you can get 60,000 in with people on the grass and all that sort of stuff. But a massive building not far away. You're talking 6 months. It's a good deal of time. But again, fascinating with what Brian talked about with the people that he spoke with that are involved in media over there. I can't remember what show that was on, but it was last week here on this show. We'll see how that goes. Go ahead.
Mike, it'll be the end of the summer there.
It will be, yeah.
And let me tell you, it is so hot in Brisbane. It's going to be like having an outdoor show in Orlando during August.
Did you have the red dust while you were there? When my brother was in Australia, there was apparently a red dust storm that for like several days, it was awful. But again, that's what they got going on there. Now, they basically swapped Forbidden Door and All In, and I do like this, Tom, for this reason. All In's going to take place in Arlington on July 12th next year, Arlington, Texas. AEW Forbidden Door is going to be in London on August 24th. You're not moving all out. And you ran into the problem this year. You got 2 shows back-to-back. It worked last year. We'll see how it works this year. I actually like that idea. I really do, because you can kind of concentrate on Forbidden Door, but again, still have All Out in your mind as your big pay-per-view. So I actually like the flopping there of those 2 events.
I agree. And also, when you think about the concept of Forbidden Door, it's AEW against New Japan. And both rosters are big enough, and we saw this with the Forbidden Door this year, where you can kind of take people out of programs and you can leave some people on the sidelines. You know, realistically, I don't know if we needed an MJF match on Forbidden Door. The show would have been about the same without it, but it goes to show you the depth that both rosters have. So you could set up completely different programs in those 2 months after All In, before All Out, and including Forbidden Door. So I think it's a positive step.
Danielson's dance card is going to fill up fast. All Out on September 7th. Grand Slam September 25th. Wrestle Dream October 12th. World's End December 28th. Wrestle Dynasty. That's an AEW show 2 of importance coming up on January 5th. You know what we haven't talked about today at all? WWE. They're over in Europe, and they got Raw tonight. We'll let you know what's planned when we get back from break.
Granny, what's happening? What do we got for the wrestling report here today?
Talk or something.
Talk or something.
So Niven comes in, jumps on Bailey with her overweight body a couple of times, doesn't mind playing dirty, leaves Bailey on the mat in lots of pain. I found this book. It's called Limericks from the Heart.
Is this a Lanny Poffo book?
Let me finish this one. This guy's name is Lanny Poffo. And there are 335 pages in here. Can you guess what it's about?
Smoking.
Oh,
Sean
yeah.
the Wizard.
Have you read it?
We read it every week for about 6 months.
When I first started.
Wow.
Why don't we start reading some questions, and we'll see if we can spur some answers out of Granny. Shall we try?
No, I don't think so.
Let's try.
Then you'll really find out how dumb I am.
Granny, did you know there was a wrestling bear?
No, and I don't care.
All right.
It's a bear that wrestled people.
I still don't care.
Okay.
Is Granny frozen?
Granny, you frozen?
No, I'm ready to read my report.
Your picture is frozen.
It is?
Yeah. Or you're doing a great job as a ventriloquist.
Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa, or whatever his last name is. Paul Newman is watching this match. And he's not on Cody's side. What's the matter?
Absolutely nothing. Everything's great.
You know, Cody did say that he was looking for a manager. I think him and Paul Newman would be a...
What a handsome pair.
Yeah. A dashing duo.
That guy's a movie star, isn't he?
Since you're on the phone, why don't we just jump right into your wrestling report and such, and then we'll let you go and we'll do Facebook without you.
Can I lay the phone down and can you hear me?
You can try. Why don't you give it a shot?
Okay.
Oh, boy. It's going to be a disaster. I can already tell.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. That's all right, I guess.
Go ahead.
No, it's your segment. You're gonna read
us jokes,
or your wrestling report or whatever. I see Granny has now put the phone back up to her ear.
I'm just, for now.
Do you have the soaps or anything else, Granny, or are we? Is that it?
I want to quit for now.
Okay. Well,
no more.
Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe.
Back on the show, Mike Sempervive and Filthy Tom Lawlor here with you to put a bow on this thing. Big boss man Brian Alvarez will be back tomorrow on the show. If you need him sooner, become a member to f4wonline.com. All of that information is available on the main site when you go to that address, or WrestlingObserver.com. Monday Night Raw live tonight, USA, on USA from the Amica. Excuse me. I don't have that insurance company, so I don't care about them. The Amica Mutual Pavilion in Providence, Rhode Island. The tournament to decide the number one contender to Braun Breaker's Intercontinental title will begin. Jey Uso declared for the tournament last week. Randy Orton will appear on the show, likely in some sort of face-off or confrontation with Gunther leading into their match this weekend at Bash in Berlin. An update on Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, who were laid out by the Judgment Day last week. Bronson Reed against Braun Strowman in a battle of big men, and the debut of Uncle Howdy Wrestling against Chad Gable. Honestly, it seems like the best offense or defense for wrestling one of the members of the Wyatt Six is to run back to the locker room. We've seen people escape that way. Filthy, what would you do in the ring with Uncle Howdy?
I would run to the back of the Amica Mutual Pavilion, which disgusts me to say that, because anybody that's ever been there knows it's the Dunk. It's not Amica Mutual Pavilion or whatever garbage name it has now. This is one of the most revered arenas in the history of professional wrestling. I lived right behind it for years, and I'd retreat back to my quarters there, 79 Washington Street, Providence, Rhode Island, if I was in there with Bray Wyatt.
Is it true you would bring the Double Ds to the Double D to see a show? Is that true? That's all that needs to be said. Well, thank everybody out there for listening and watching. Thank you, Producer Dom. Thank you, Producer Jared. Thank you for once again stepping in. Filthy, we shall talk to you again after a while.